so I'll be making Maya and Aladino a Dodger here and then a connecting panel to enclose it, but it's really going to increase the livable space on this boat a lot because, I mean, it's windy, it's quite howling today, and it's very nice, warm, and
I'm so excited.
So chill right here.
I cannot wait.
So chill.
And it's going to be shady when there's too much sun, and it's going to be dry when there's too much rain. It's just all in all going to be so much better.
There's a bit of a greenhouse effect here, so we've decided to add zippers for all the forward panels. This will be functionally a bimini, the top, so it can completely be removed. All these windows can be completely removed, modular from each other, but in inclement weather we still have a bit of a lee cloth that comes down the sides, and then we have a connecting panel that is, this is the, what's it called again?
Oh, I don't know the name of it, but it's the boom gallow.
Boom gallow, yeah,
the
okay.
F-dent, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know
the
if this
boom
cloth would have a name.
Yeah, so it's kind of a connecting cloth to a boom gallow
Yep.
instead of a bimini would be the normal thing.
Yeah.
But this still lets you run your main sheets aft of that. It's not going to interrupt any of that, and you get half of your cockpit sheltered.
Totally, yeah.
Which is a good compromise, I think, because you don't really have room for a bimini. You kind of need like a solar arch that would hang way off the back, not so much a bimini.
No, yeah, this is more the traditional way, but yeah.
But the good news is that you can totally add another connecting cloth to run all the way back to that solar arch eventually.
One day, if we decide to go explore the Arctic Circle instead of going south.
Totally. And my vote's on going south anyways. But anyway, we'll get to work. Let's pull this into the shop and get to sewing. Alright, the first job is to take in my template and straighten out all the lines, cut it out, and trace it onto my canvas. I'm using a reinforced plastic called Scrim Plastic. You can order it on Amazon. It was made popular by the Sailrite videos, which I've watched a ton of to learn what I'm doing. I'm finishing off the templates, and I'm just adding every little bit of information that I can remember right now before the project stretches on too far and I've forgotten to mark things. So I mark things like center and tops and bottoms and insides and outs. Then I gotta cut everything, and as I'm cutting, well, measure twice, cut once, right? Because if you screw this up, you're not going to know until the end of the project. And then I procrastinate because this is a daunting part of the project. You've got all these loose bits and you just have to start putting it all together. And it takes a minute. Because we're making a Dodger, visibility is really, really important. And so for some enclosure panels that need to roll up or something, we might use vinyl that comes on a roll. It's all extruded. That's the 20 gauge. Don't use that. It's way too thin. You want the double thick stuff. But in this case, because it's for a Dodger and visibility is so important, we're using a polycarbonate sheet. Now this one is 30 thousandths thick, so that's 0.030. We're doing one for Masha right now that's 0.060, and that is hell to stitch. She'll have the closest thing to a hard Dodger that's ever been sewn. But yeah, I do not suggest that. 30 is good. This particular 30 that I buy is only coated with the UV protectant on one side. So that means that it has these stickers that say this side out. You got to make sure as you're stitching it in that this faces outwards. But that UV protection doesn't stick around forever. Uncoated, these things are good for about 10 years. But if you reapply the coating and you have window covers for these that you put on an off season or whenever you're not using the boat, it'll last much, much longer. So generally speaking, if I use that and I combine it with my Tanara thread that I buy that's quite expensive, it should outlive the boat. Taken care of properly, a good Sombrella cover that is decent quality, that has chafe protection, and that gets recoated with a Scotch Guard and a UV protectant on the plastics and gets covered up with window covers, should last feasibly longer than the sailboat will. That's not always how things work out, is it? So we'll just hedge our bets. We'll do the best we can. One of the pro tips that I've learned recently, when you're doing these edges can be quite sharp. You see that right there? And so what I do now when I'm cutting corners on my polycarbonate is I like to round it off, and before I start sewing, I'll just take a little sander and just round out the corners, and that will help a little bit on chafe down the road. There's going to be layers of vinyl and other stuff touching this that'll help with the chafe as well, but everything we can do, right? Everything we can do. Let's get back to work. The reason we're able to use the polycarbonate here is because the Dodger doesn't get rolled up. So it is pretty much in place all the time. With Masha's, for instance, she never plans to remove it whatsoever, but Maya and Aladino will definitely lift up these panels when they want to, and as a result, in order to compensate for that, I have made their Dodger basically to have all the forward panels removable, so everything can zip on and zip off. So they can take out the center panel and get a little bit of breeze through there, or they can take all 3 panels off the front and just have a little bimini over top of their companionway. So best of both worlds, really, hopefully. The problem is then storing these, they kind of have to store flat. I mean, it bends a little bit, like could like roll up like that tight, but it doesn't roll anywhere near as good as like the vinyl, the extruded vinyl. So, you know, the good with the bad.
Red stain, the clinking of glass, the flickering shade on your face.
The machine I'm using is from West Germany to give you an idea of its age. It's a FAF 545 walking foot. You can buy these types of walking foot used for between $1,000 and $500, so they're not actually that expensive, but setting up a space where you can actually use them and tuning them and getting them in good working order, now that takes a little bit. So these machines are plenty strong enough to punch through the vinyl and plastics and all kinds of heavy materials, and the walking foot really helps you stitch multiple layers of canvas together at the same time. It's a pretty useful machine, but you don't have to go spending thousands and thousands of dollars to get started.
If our stars align, maybe we were twin flames in a past life. Same souls with different names in a past life, in a past life. Heartbreak, keeping in time with the beat of that old refrain. Sideways, like I knew you before.
All right, the project is coming together. It's at the point now where I can look at it and say, it's getting to the fun point. Let's put it that way. There's a moment where these sewing projects stop being quite so daunting, and it's when the seams and the hems are starting to be put in, and the project is like a complete piece without a bunch of dangling, half sticky taped things on it. So it's a pretty exciting part of the project, and I've really enjoyed this one. It's not every sewing project that I really like, but this one has been well within my wheelhouse. This is, I think, my ninth Dodger, maybe. And yeah, I think it's safe to say I kind of almost somewhat know what I'm doing now, and that's a really good feeling, because been at this for like 3 years, and this might be one of the first times I actually feel like I know what I'm doing. Yeah, it's a good feeling. I like it. All right, so now we just have to sew these pockets in, and to do that, we're going to iron out the extra give that these hems have that I did around the edges, so that when we pull everything taut, it gets every last bit of fabric pulled taut, and we get an actual tight alignment, so that when we go and stretch this over the frame, it should be drum tight.
Maybe I could have loved you in another timeline.
I was unprepared for this moment of truth.
You have loved me too. If our stars align, if our stars align, maybe we were twin flames in a past life. Same souls with different names in a past life, in a past life. In a past life.
Okay, we're almost done. This is the port side panel. You can see the window is in, the zippers are in, everything is double stitched except the bottom skirt here. So we just did a dry fit, stretched it out, marked everything. We've got the vinyl, the PVC inside for that extra stiffness, and we're going through 2 layers of Sombrella and whatever's left over in the hem. So the fastener should be really solid. First thing I'm gonna do though is just clean up my zipper here, get this sorted, this little mess, and we'll get to stitching.
All right, it's been a long few days, but we got it done. That's it. We're just gonna put this panel on and we're gonna see the Dodger in action. So now that the Dodger is done, which we will peel the plastic on shortly, we also are still missing fasteners because we ran out, but we'll get those in the city. We're gonna do a little connecting cloth, even though he doesn't have a bimini. We're just gonna connect it to, is this called?
Boom gallow.
Boom gallow.
Yeah.
I always forget the name of it for some reason.
Well,
Anyway,
it's just something smaller, more aerodynamic, and yeah, really easy to remove.
and we'll add a ton of dry space
Dry
in the
area.
cockpit all
Indeed.
winter long.
Yeah, because here we have the main sheet running, so yeah, bimini gets kind of hard. We could have a bimini here, but then the boom gallow is in the way, so yeah, that's how we're gonna do it instead.
I still think solar arch past everything.
That's gotta come one day.
The davits.
Yeah, that's gotta come one day.
One of the last stitches I've got to do for this whole project is the boom gallows little cups that like cup the boom when it drops onto it. So I've done these an interesting way and I want to show you. Here's what they got to look like in the end, this little semicircle. And if you've ever tried to hem something, a concave angle is always the hardest. So I'll show you a cool trick for doing those. So here's the shape, which just so happens to match this cup perfectly. That's the shape that I have to exclude. So to do that properly, I take the hem and I fold it back on itself. And I just mark the semicircle there and then stitch there. Alright, and now that I have it stitched, keep in mind on the wrong side, just get my hot knife out and I cut as close to the thread as I can without nicking the thread. That's important. Make sure also not to cut anything underneath you. So I've cut out my little concave, and now this is when the magic happens. You take the corners, you push them out on themselves, right, and then when you turn it inside right, you've got a perfect little hem with a nice finished edge all the way around there. So all I'll do now is I'll iron that flat and then I'll top stitch it. final fitment. We're still short quite a few fasteners. We ran out. That is pretty typical of me. What's more typical is me running out of zippers, which I didn't do this time, so improvement. The one last thing left to do is to peel off the plastic off of those windows and we get the full reveal of just how crystal clear this Dodger is. Look at all this visibility you've got now. Oh, we can see everything.
Yeah, that's good.
Alright, now that we're done the canvas work, we gotta go take it out and test it. So, nice and warm in this cockpit, perfect visibility, I can see all of Vancouver. Sitting here at the tiller, sail this beautiful full keel boat. It gives me a little bit of inspiration as to how Perry might be, but I am glad. The tiller's cool, but I'm glad I got a wheel. Otherwise, yeah, beautiful boat. I really want to thank Maya and Aladino for trusting me with this project. This is the first time I really rekindled some joy in my sewing again, and it's inspiring me to pick it up again. If you guys haven't been watching their videos recently, it'll inspire you to sail north, and that's what I intend to do as soon as my boat's ready. Please check out the link in the description. Maya and Aladino, it's always a pleasure hanging out with y'all. See you next week.